Picture this, you're at a crossroads. 2 or 3 paths in front of you, and every option feels like it could change your life. That's usually the moment people start wondering, should I talk to a psychic? Today we're breaking down what a psychic reading actually is, how it tends to work, what you can realistically expect, the different types of readings out there, and yes, how much it usually costs.
And we're also going to talk about the part people don't always say out loud, skepticism, nerves, and that worry of, what if it's awkward, what if it's fake, what if they tell me something scary? Because if you've never done a reading before, it can feel mysterious in a way that's exciting and uncomfortable at the same time.
Totally. So let's start simple. A psychic reading is basically a session where someone uses intuitive skills to tune into you. People describe that as reading your energy, your aura, your emotional patterns, sometimes connecting with spiritual guidance, sometimes just noticing things you're not noticing about yourself.
And the key word there is, tune in. It's not usually like a psychic is pulling a hard fact out of thin air, like reading your bank balance or your exact future schedule. It's often more like they're picking up impressions, symbols, feelings, or themes, then translating that into something you can use.
Right. And one important point, a good reading usually isn't framed as a fixed, locked future. It's more like, here are the currents around you. Here are the choices that look open. Here are the obstacles you keep running into. The goal is empowerment, not a prophecy you're trapped in.
Which honestly makes it make more sense. Because if someone tells you, this is exactly what will happen, it can take away your agency. But if someone helps you see patterns and possibilities, you can still make decisions with your eyes open.
So what does it look like in practice? Most sessions start with creating a safe, comfortable atmosphere. Whether it's in person in a cozy room, or online over video or phone, the reader will usually ask a few questions to get a sense of what you want and to connect with your energy.
And those questions can be super practical. Like, what area of life are we focusing on? Love, career, family, personal growth. Or they might ask something like, what's been on your mind lately? Not to fish for information in a sneaky way, but to give the session a direction.
Exactly. Then the insights can come through in different ways depending on the reader. Some people are very symbol-based. You might hear, I keep seeing water, and then you talk about whether water connects to travel, emotions, or a specific memory. Other readers are more direct, they'll describe a feeling they're picking up, or a message that sounds almost like advice.
And sometimes you'll hear things that feel oddly familiar. Like, wait, I've been thinking that, I just haven't said it out loud. That's one of the big reasons people find readings comforting. It can feel like someone is holding up a mirror to your inner world.
Let's talk benefits, because that's usually why people book in the first place. One of the biggest psychic reading benefits people report is clarity. When you're overwhelmed, your thoughts loop. You go in circles. A reading can interrupt that loop by offering a new angle.
And that new angle can lead to emotional relief. Not because the psychic magically fixes your life, but because feeling seen and heard can lower your stress. Sometimes you just need someone to reflect back, yes, this is heavy. Yes, it makes sense you're confused.
Another big one is reconnecting with intuition. A lot of us have instincts, but we second-guess them into silence. A reading can help you recognize what you already know deep down. And when that happens, confidence shows up. You start trusting your own judgment again.
There's also validation. That doesn't mean the psychic is proving something with evidence like a science experiment. It means you might feel affirmed in your feelings, your experiences, and your sense that something in your life needs attention.
And inspiration is a huge one. You might leave with new possibilities. Maybe you hadn't considered a certain path, a conversation you need to have, or a different way of approaching the same problem.
And sometimes, people experience a kind of healing after a reading. Not as a replacement for therapy or medical care, but as a moment where old pain loosens a little. Like, oh, I can put that down now.
Okay, let's address the practical question everyone asks: cost. How much does a psychic reading usually run? Most commonly, you'll see a range from around $30 up to about $150, depending on the reader and the session length.
And session length varies a lot. Some people offer quick 15-minute readings. Others do 45 minutes to an hour, and some do longer deep dives. Usually, the longer and more specialized the session, the higher the price.
A few tips if you're shopping around: look for reviews or testimonials, especially ones that mention how the reader made the client feel. Ask about pricing up front, so there's no weirdness. And choose a length that fits your budget, because you'll get more out of it if you're not stressed about the cost the entire time.
Also, think value over price. Not in a spend money you don't have way, but in a cheap doesn't always mean right for you way. The best reading is the one that leaves you clearer and more grounded, not necessarily the lowest number on a website.
Now, types of psychic readings. This is where people get surprised, because they think psychic reading is one single thing. It's not. There are different methods, and each one has its own vibe.
Let's start with the famous one, tarot. Tarot readings use a deck filled with symbolic images. The reader lays out cards in a spread and interprets them based on the card meanings and how they relate to your questions. It's part intuition and part working with an established system of symbolism.
Then there are clairvoyant readings, where the reader gets visual impressions. They might describe scenes, colors, or images and connect those to what's happening in your life. Some people resonate with this because it can feel very specific, like a snapshot.
Mediumship is another category, and that's specifically about connecting with spirits or loved ones who have passed. People seek this out for closure, comfort, or simply to feel that connection again. If you're exploring mediumship, it helps to be clear about your boundaries and what you're hoping to receive.
Palmistry is more old school, and it's based on the lines, shapes, and features of the hand. It often focuses on personality traits, strengths, patterns, and possibilities. It can feel surprisingly practical, like, here's how you're wired, here's what tends to trip you up.
And astrology, a birth chart reading analyzes the positions of planets at the time you were born. That can highlight your strengths, challenges, relationship patterns, and broader life themes. It's less about, this will happen on Tuesday, and more about, here's your blueprint and the seasons you move through.
If you're choosing a reader, you can ask what method they use and how they structure a session. You don't have to pretend you're comfortable with everything. Some people love tarot but don't want mediumship, or they want astrology but not a general intuitive reading. It's your choice.
Let's talk preparation, because this is where people either get a lot out of a reading or walk away feeling like, well, that was vague. Preparing doesn't mean rehearsing your life story. It means getting clear on what you want from the time.
A great first step is setting an intention. Ask yourself, am I looking for clarity on a relationship? Am I trying to decide between two jobs? Am I seeking personal growth? Or am I simply curious? Any of those is fine, but naming it helps focus the session.
And write down a few questions. Keep them open-ended if you can. Instead of, will I get the job, try, what can I do to strengthen my chances, or, what should I know about this opportunity? That kind of question invites guidance, not a yes or no that can leave you stuck.
Another simple thing, choose a quiet space. If it's online, make sure you won't be interrupted. When you're relaxed, you're more present. And when you're more present, you can actually hear what's being said and respond honestly.
Also, keep an open mind about how messages might land. Sometimes the helpful part isn't the first thing the psychic says. Sometimes one sentence hits you 2 days later when you're in the grocery store, and you realize, oh, that's what they meant.
Okay, so you've had the reading. What happens next? This is the part people skip, and it's arguably the most important part, because a reading is only useful if you integrate it.
Give yourself a little time afterward. You might feel lighter, or emotional, or energized, or even confused. All of that can be normal. It can be a lot to take in when someone reflects your life back to you in a new way.
One of the best things you can do is write down what stood out. Journal it. Even if it's messy. Especially if it's messy. Because the details fade, and later you'll want to remember what actually resonated versus what didn't.
And if the reading included practical steps, try one. Not all of them, not overnight. Just one action. Send the email. Have the conversation. Update your resume. Take a class. End the cycle. Whatever fits. A reading can feel magical, but action is what turns insight into change.
And keep your authority. This is big. A psychic reading should support your decision-making, not replace it. You get to decide what's true for you. You get to decide what advice to take. You get to decide what doesn't fit.
So if you're wondering whether to book a session, maybe the question isn't, do I believe in it perfectly? Maybe it's, would a guided conversation, one focused on intuition, symbolism, and reflection, help me see my life more clearly right now?
Because at its best, that's what a reading is, a light on the path. Not someone dragging you down it. If you're in that crossroads moment, it might be worth exploring, gently, thoughtfully, and on your terms.
And if you do it, go in with curiosity, clear questions, and a little self-compassion. You don't need to perform. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to be honest about where you are and what you're hoping to understand.
That's it for today. If this cleared things up, what a reading is, what it costs, what types exist, and how to prepare, then you're already walking into the experience with more confidence. And sometimes, that alone is the first sign you're finding your way.